music rocking the barn.
I come from spring peepers and a moon-washed pasture.
I come from where a pasture used to be before it was developed.
I come from where doctors made house calls and were paid in fresh produce.
I come from a valley too beautiful to put an interstate highway through it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Water make the river, river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Water make the river, river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around.
I come from wild rhododendron and mountain laurel. The deer eat everything else. Been known to eat the deer.
I come from a crossroads that has seen woolly mammoths, then Indians, then gold miners, and now tourists.
I come from the home of the ugliest courthouse in Georgia.
Dun, 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 dun.
Water make the river, river wash the mountain, turn the world around. River wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around.
I come from Southern Baptists and Yellow Dog Democrats.
I come from a nest of Republicans.
I come from soccer practice. I come from goodly portions of beautiful Northeast Georgia.
Turn the world around.
There you go.
I come from the foothills of the second oldest range of mountains in the world. Only the Urals and Russia are older. The Appalachian Mountains were pushed up by plate tectonics, and when they finally stopped rising, they were tied as the Himalayas are now. The Himalayas are still being pushed up. One of the plates that was elevated in that great push was made of sedimentary rock. The other was igneous and basaltic rock. And if you know what you're looking for in some road cuts to the range of these old mountains, you can see where different kinds of rock have been folded together.
All was water, and the creatures, animals and people are all creatures. The creatures that lived above the vault of the sky were crowded and wanted more room. And so one from among them, Beaver's grandchild, a little water beetle, offered to go and find out if there was another place to live. And so Water Beetle died, darted in every direction over the surface of the water, but could find no good place to rest. And so Water Beetle dived deep, 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 and found mud, and brought a tiny bit of it back to the surface. And that mud began to grow and spread. So there was land now, but the surface was flat and soft and wet. So the creature sent birds this time to see if there was any place that they might come and live. But the birds found no good place to alight, and they came back. Then the creature sent Buzzard, and he flew all over the earth. And as he came to this part of the earth, he was tired and flying low. And his wingtips brushed the earth, and where they had touched, there were valleys. And where they had left again in the great strata were mountains. And that is how Cherokee country comes to have mountains.
We live in the second most diverse forest in the world. Only the rainforest is more diverse. The only forest like it in this world was in China, but it's almost gone because of the pressure for farmland is so great. Parts of this forest have not always been so diverse. In human memory, much of it was exclusively chestnut. A blight got the chestnuts. Diversity reigned again. But now we're losing the hemlock. And in this forest, we are rich in water.
Yeah,